at that point was Highway 99E. Haynes Road is not built for today's traffic. It was built for 1920s traffic. It doesn't have the structure underneath. And you wisely told Columbia Bottling, I was here that night, you've told other companies in the park that they are supposed to use, they had to build road, and they are supposed to use the road they built, and they're supposed to use the traffic lights at Fred Meyer's. My dad suggested what is finally happening with the extension of Walnut Street to Governor Kulongowski.
It's been a minute.
What I see happening, you have pictures in front of you. The road is falling apart. It's coming apart. The place that I stood and took the longer pictures, I actually stood in the middle and looked both directions. That particular spot is 70 yards long. The semis are not supposed to be going on Haynes Road. But living up on that hill and with the traffic that we have today, I don't choose to turn across Highway 99E to get to Canby. I come down Haynes Road. I almost never see a road without a semi on it. All I'm asking, I know I'm out of time, all I'm asking for you folks to do is, you do have the ability within the city limits, and I believe the county would go along with you and maybe put some signage up on in their area too. Some signage that have a weight limit, a truck route sign, local access only, something that says patrolled, something that says fines. The truckers look at, there's a lot of independent truckers that go in and out of the park. They look at their GPS, it says Haynes Road is the straightest way, and that's where they go. And Haynes Road simply is not going to hold up long enough for Walnut to get finished. That's all.
Thank you. Kathy, to address these pieces, and I think you hit it on the head there, yeah, the trucks, Haynes isn't going to hold up. Hence why we're trying to expedite that Walnut extension as quickly as we can. Part of our conversation, and Jamie Stickler, our Economic Development Director, is here with Columbia and Caruso Produce and Stanich Furniture. We have worked with those businesses to ensure and make sure that their drivers are not using Haynes Road. So a lot of the traffic that's coming into the industrial park is other companies that service those businesses there. So that's part of the challenge that we have. And you hit the other piece was the GPS. It sends them the quickest and shortest routes. And so that is a challenge to change some of that through, Google and, Waze and all those other companies. We have challenges with trucks coming into our downtown because GPS is taking them into our downtown core. And whenever I see a truck turning down Grant Street or Ivy, I know that their GPS is taking them the wrong way and they're going to get stuck, and sure enough, they do. I will talk with our city administrator and see what maybe we can do with the county to partner and work on trying to maybe redirect some of that traffic if we can. And I sit on with the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, and so I will bring this up as a topic of conversation, at least with the county commissioners that are involved with that committee, and get this put more on their radar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kathy.
That's all the yellow cards I have this evening, so if there is another opportunity later in the meeting, if you so wish to address the council, that would be fine. Next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda that includes the minutes of the June 2nd, 2021 work session and City Council regular meeting, and the appointment of Gary Bryant to the Traffic Safety Commission with a term to expire 6/30/2024.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varway to approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes of the June 2nd work session and regular city council meetings, and the appointment of Gary Bryant to the Traffic Safety Commission. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 5-0. Next on our agenda is a presentation from OC Brewing Company.
And Mr. Mayor, I'm going to invite Jamie Stickle, our Economic Development Director, to introduce this presentation.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so have a seat, and I will move out of your way once I get everything pulled up. So I'm just going to pull up the PowerPoint for this evening. That would be the wrong one. In case you were wondering if I'm rusty being back in the building, but it's so good to see you all. And with me tonight, I have Bryce Morrow, and he is the owner of Oregon City Brewing Company. And while we've talked about him a lot in the last year or year and a half, I think that this might be some of your first introduction to him, so I'll let him talk a bit about himself and his business, and you'll be good to go.
Well, there's the, thanks for having me tonight, Mayor, councilors, city staff. I'll tell you, I'm a little bit deflated because when I pulled up here in the parking lot tonight, I see this big crowd. I thought, wow, the city is, the community is really supportive of my item. But now it's really cleared out. Yeah.
Trust me, they are.
Right.
They are ready for it.
There's lots of people viewing at home. I just want you to know that. So we're good.
Like a million.
The nines of them are
The
watching.
millions.
Like a million.
This project is really a passion project for me, and it started when I first visited this building in 2018, when there was a request for a proposal during that time. I'm glad that didn't go through, but it ended up being a real catalyst for the whole project, because after that time period, with the leadership of city staff and Jamie, were able to acquire the Oregon Main Street grant for facade improvement of $200,000. That project, if you'll remember, because a lot of you were on the city council at that time frame, was for a city marketplace, and to revitalize this area of downtown with multiple tenants, and to really activate that part of downtown. So I'll show you. This is to just refresh your memory. This is the proposal that everyone got excited about. I was excited about it, and this is what we ended up going with at the time. As we got further into the project, we ended up, this atrium, it has some constraints of the building. So I'll give you just a brief overview, and it'll be very visual in nature. There is no outdoor seating, right? And if there's anything that I've learned over the past year with the pandemic and being a brewery owner, outdoor seating is just critical for food and beverage. So that was my attempt to do it, of how could we incorporate some type of outdoor. Once I actually got a structural engineer in there, they quickly dissuaded me that would be a difficult thing to do, that wouldn't be perhaps the best idea. So what we ended up going with, I present to you this design. We just submitted this for site and design review, type 3. And instead of chopping it up to put an atrium in the middle, we did a 1,500 square foot outdoor rooftop patio, which would be, I believe, the first one in Clackamas County, or only one in Clackamas County.
Love this idea.
And it'll have the benefit where it'll be covered, the bulk of it, and then it'll be heated. We will have infrared gas heaters in there. And then it overlooks beautiful Waite Park. I got up there, Public Works was kind enough to bring out an extension ladder for me. I got up on there, took photos of what it would look like, and it's just beautiful with all the foliage, and I think the community is just going to really, really enjoy it. The other thing you see of this is the transparency that it will be increased from just all of the glass overhead roll-up garage doors. Those are, a bulk of them are 16 feet wide, and then they're separate entrances. So facing 3rd Street would be 3 different retail tenants. So as I had it proposed before, it would be 4 total tenants. It'll end up being 8 total tenants when we're all said and done. And I'm happy to announce that, well, including our 7 out of the 8, I already have letters of intent from. So it's really amazing. So we have 2 businesses that are relocating. They're already based in Canby, successful businesses. The other concept that came up with is like, what are you going to do with food, right? So you're going to do a brewery, but there was no food. We ended up coming, and I'll flip through this a little bit. This is the floor plan. As you can see in there, there's micro kitchens. So they end up being a little over 300 square feet. They're fully outfitted. My business in Oregon City, we ended up doing this in 2016. We converted a corner office, 260 square feet, and converted it into a kitchen. These are a little bit larger. For comparison, you could get a food truck typically about 140 square feet. So it's real spacious to compare to that. And they will be fully self-contained with their own, dishwashers. They'll have Type 1 hoods. And their own appliances. The kitchen spaces are, I had more demand on those than spaces to give, which is great. So I think it'll be this great interaction of the offerings, different cuisines. They're all different operators, and then that opens into the brewery area. That bar there that we have is 28 feet long for comparison, so it's really large, a large cooler for us in the back. The thing that will define this space really will be our barrel aging project. There'll be 200 plus French oak barrels that are roughly about the size of 2 kegs put together, and they're really beautiful. So those will be on racks. There will be a couple large fooders. I don't have a photo of them. They're massive oak tanks that we will age beer in, and there'll be 3 of those. So that'll really define the space. As much as possible, we're going to retain all of the existing structure that we can. So it has some really neat parallel cord trusses that are in there. We're going to keep everything that we can. As part of this project, though, with all of the new transparency, the glass garage doors that were added, we really had to seismically upgrade, the bulk of the building, and obviously adding a live load over the top, and then wind shear for the structure. It ends up being, if you can see the size of some of the walls around here, this will be 8 inches of shotcrete that will be put in here. It'll be fully sprinklered too, so full fire suppression. And I have the one space up here that is still available. So if you know anybody, and we've got a kitchen
space or an office space?
This is an office space, yeah. So these are self-contained office spaces. They have their own restrooms, direct access into 3rd Street.
Who would want an office?
Office or retail, right? It says
It could be retail as well.
Retail is really what it's meant to be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I really want somebody, you think of like placemaking kind of place. I would love to get something that brings people in, traffic. I don't want it to be an insurance office or something like that.
So you have 4 retail, 4 micro kitchens?
There's 3 retail, 4 micro kitchens.
Okay.
Yep, and then we'll be the anchor tenant here. This area from this wall here that kind of divides the retail from the brew pub area. This is roughly about 7,100 square feet over here. This gives just a little bit of overview. There'll be 30-plus skylights that'll be put in. You know, that was the other challenge of the project is there's no light in the darn thing. So there's no light, there's no outdoor space, and I think with enough creativity, we came up with a great solution, I think. The stairway will come up here, and it has a really nice finish. Let me see if I can go. I'm going to skip through here real quick. You can kind of see the layout of how you would be here in the brewery area, and then you would walk up the stairs in here. It'll have this lock deck product. It's Douglas fir clear span. That will be underneath the rooftop patio canopy and continuing all the way. So it continues from this the brewery area and then walking up. It'll be really cool. This is some visual of a couple of from Holly and then from Third. And some of the overview of just demolition, you can see of what these would signify is that they'll be removed and replaced with those garage doors. Part of it is just meeting the transparency requirement in the design code. We were able to do that on the two main intersections of Third and Holly. This is one interior rendering just to have an idea of what the micro kitchen, the interaction with it'll be. They'll be self-contained, little roll-up doors we can order directly there. And we'll also have contactless ordering, so you can just sit down, you can grab a table, and then you can order directly from your phone without having to wait in line or talk to anybody. That's it. That's the brief overview.
Not really food cart, but more like the food court at the mall kind of a situation where you walk up, it's not a food.
Better food than the mall, I can guarantee
Well, I get that. No,
Yes.
Yes. I wasn't
Yes.
speaking to quality of the cuisine, but just the model.
Something
Okay.
like that, yeah.
Okay.
And I like to think of it as kind of like an in-between between entrepreneur between a food truck and really a full-blown restaurant, which is a huge investment. And we're going to be the rents are very competitive, and we put in the infrastructure for the restaurateur, from the grease traps to all the utilities. And of course, some really nice synergy, I think, with the brewery. I like to say, and I think the same thing about Canby, that my company exists for two reasons. One is to make great beer, and the other reason is to build community. And I'm super excited to bring this project here, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I think it's great. I think you're going to have people wanting to reserve a rooftop bar for the parade, though, 4th of July.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, that's a great outdoor, party space or event space kind of a thing too.
Music in the park, you're going to be busy up there.
So Bryce, now, are you guys going to be brewing there as well, or is that going to be all in Oregon City?
We won't be brewing. We will have cider production, though.
Okay.
So there'll be full cider production. Cider's much easier in general. You're really just fermenting within the tanks. For us to duplicate the brew house in Canby would just be it would be like, do we want to do the rooftop patio or brew, right? One out of the two in the budget item, so.
So you'll be brewing in OC.
That's right, yeah.
Now, the roof piece is interesting, because you mentioned the wind shear potential for that. Like, talk to me a little bit about that in terms of just the engineering feat that is, and how are you not going to end up with a roof on top of the beer library? Yeah,
well, thankfully I've got a great team that is doing this. Equilibrium Engineers is our engineer of record. They've done some very large projects, from they did the Newport Aquarium to various other things. These will be large span, if you can see up here, glue lambs that are carrying this load directly from here, full span, the full length. So it's really just a calculation, and then this comes down to it ended up being kind of a really nice solution, I think, to a structural column, right, that's underneath. This is the demising wall that is down beneath it. It's not so much the wind shear that would be the problem, it would be the concern of, that coupled with 100 people that are up there and moving around, that whole live load kind of scenario. But it's definitely doable. It's not the most challenging thing that they've done.
Well, this is definitely a dramatic shift from what was first presented to the council, and I like the idea of kind of those micro kitchens. I liken it to, yes, maybe the mall setting, but I think of like the place in Happy Valley where you've got, you're almost very similar to that, but your food carts, which now are, and that's a huge investment just to do, 4 or 5 mini kitchens. So that's, and I think that's going to go over very, very well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bryce, it's good to meet you in person. I remember probably about 2017, I was driving through Oregon City, and I saw the free beer sign, and I said, I got to stop. Free beer, I love beer. Then I realized that there's, words on top and bottom, and you tricked me, but you pulled me in. And I've been drinking your beer since, and I really enjoy it, so I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you.
You were saying you only have the one space, so you have all 4 kitchens rented out already. That's awesome. And then I have a feeling you'll probably have the other rented before you're ready to go. So this is great. I'm just a huge fan of this project, and I would love to see beers named after all of us.
Okay.
Oh, that could be fun. I hate IPAs, by the way, so.
Okay.
Well, I love them, so.
You can name the IP after him. IPA
Councilor
after him.
Spoon.
Bryce, thank you for coming and presenting this to us. I know I was on council when we were first doing the RFPs, and when we got to the point that we had to decide if it was going to be a city project or if we're going to work with private investment, I remember sitting on a train one time with the mayor trying to sketch out what the city could do on napkins. And this is just proof that private industry can way outthink government at any multitude of times, because there is no way that we could have come up with the ingenuity and the design and really the potential that your project is. And I think it's a game changer for our downtown, and I'm really grateful for that, because I feel like we often say Canby has all the puzzle pieces now. We just need them to fit together, and I think this is going to be a huge component in fitting all those puzzle pieces together. And interestingly enough, I was downtown a few days ago and saw a group of gentlemen going into Backstop at lunchtime. We were coming out of the Book Nook, and one of them turned around to the others and said, wow, this town has really been revitalized since we were last here. And that was like the clouds parted and a light shone down on a city councilor, like someone's noticed. But this is going to take us to the next level, and I'm really grateful and I'm excited for it. So, thank you for taking the time to come and present it to us. And would it be possible for us to get copies of your PowerPoint? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is probably like the number one thing people ask us about, what it's going to look like and everything.
Nice.
So if we could show them renderings, that'd be great.
I think you'll have a line outside before you open.
Right.
Camp out like tickets to Def Leppard in 1986.
Yeah. Thank you, Bryce.
Thank you.
Councilor Barker?
I don't, sorry, go ahead. Well, I appreciate the work you put in. Also, Jamie, when we went into executive session and gave her direction and sent her to go negotiate with you, and we've come up with this. As an object lesson for the younger counselors and counselors who will come to sit on this dais, it's important to remember that the council took some political hits because it didn't take the first bid. It didn't take the first series of bids. And people were complaining, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this faster? And why are you playing so hard to get? And sometimes that's what it takes, is for us to reset. So this is an important lesson. Everybody's real happy today, but there were council meetings in the past where we said, no, this isn't exactly what we want to do, a service center or a medical facility or that sort of thing, that this isn't what we exactly want to do. So thanks for your faith in Canby. I find that people never are so patriotic as when they first start a project here, and so your enthusiasm is good. And also a comment about our economic development director. Sometimes we gave her some pretty tough instructions and convoluted directions about going back and doing negotiations, because that's how a governing board has to do these things. And this really is a legacy project in your career. Thank you.
Councilor Banks, you had something?
Yeah, thank you. I'm also very excited about this. I think this is going to be a game changer for our downtown area, and I'm looking forward to seeing which of the beers is named after me. There is a certain irony.
It's the sour one.
Yeah. When I was a child, my dad was a doctor, and I used to play at the ambulance facility that your Oregon City Brewing is in now. And when I went there not too long ago, when COVID opened up, my friends and I went to your establishment there, and it was such a blow for me to like just a nostalgia run. Like, I used to play here. My friends got tired of me saying that all night. My children used to play in the building that you're now building a brewery in. So you're turning it into a brewery too. And I do believe there's some irony there. Now they're 20 and 18, and I don't know where they're going to raise their children, and you should plan your next brewery. When we get to that point, I'll come down and let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
No, we're good.
No.
Gratitude for
Yeah, Bryce, thank you very much.
Thanks so
Really
much.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Bryce.
Yeah, absolutely.
You open tomorrow, right?
Timeline on this, we hope to have it, I think it's going to be around May. We're highly motivated by the expiration of the Oregon Main Street grant. That expires in April. So we will phase it out. That piece is really just for the facade. So we will prioritize all the facade pieces first, which is, all of the roll-up glass, garage doors, all of the seismic upgrading, that kind of thing.
Well, that'll be exciting. It'll be rolling thunder that people will be seeing.
Yes, yeah, the exterior will be done well before the interior to meet that timeline. But kudos to this body for sticking with the project for as long as you did, and I just believe that the really economic development and revitalization of main streets isn't about selling an asset that the city has to the highest bidder, because you wouldn't want to have a dollar store in there or something like that, or Dollar General, right? And you're going to end up with 8 different businesses in town, and I hope they'll all thrive. So thanks for your support. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bryce. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Next on our agenda is the city's new website.
And so Mayor and Council, Jamie Stickle is going to help with this as well. Jamie is our Economic Development Director, but also is serving in kind of an additional role with the city, as I think I announced in an email, but is also doing some communications work for us just to assist in that, and this is kind of part of that. But I think you probably all know we've been working on updating our website. This has been in process for quite a while. We had an RFP, and there was a company that we hired last year, and the company's name is MuniCode. They do website design and development, and the city's been working on that for quite a while, and we are very near rolling out our updated website. We want to go live on August 2nd. And we wanted to bring to you just a quick kind of a demo. Here's what it looks like, kind of the look and feel of it, and just we're open to feedback. It'll be an ongoing. It's going to go live, but that doesn't mean it's whatever you see is permanent. We still have the opportunity to make improvements as we go. But Jamie's going to walk you through just a quick demo of that, what that website's going to look like.
And that concludes my presentation.
No, you have all the good pictures.
So I wanted to take first a trip down memory lane. So this is our current website, and it's memory lane because for as long as I have been in Canby, which is since June 2012, the website has looked the same. And while it serves lots of different citizens, businesses, residents, people who are looking to potentially move here, do business here, it certainly leaves a lot to the imagination. So additionally, the city had other websites for various projects. Canby Business, which is economic development, Canby PD, police department, the Canby Public Library, the Independence Day celebration. And the vision was that we would bring all of the city services, all of the city departments, the city events under one domain so that we were able to provide kind of a one-stop shop for citizens or businesses, people who are interested in visiting here, so that they could go to one place and see what the city had to offer. So as Scott mentioned, the city issued a request for proposals in January of 2020. It was a competitive bidding process. There were 9 proposals that were received, and we invited 3 companies to come back to present further. In the group that was reviewing the proposals and walking through this process, there were representatives from HR, finance, library, CAT, planning, IT, records, and economic development. And I note that only because the website in and of itself was quite a big project, but we also wanted to make sure that it served all of the different functions that the city needed it to serve. So we brought people together to review those proposals. We invited 3 companies to come back to present further, right around the time that COVID entered our lives. So a lot of that was done over Zoom, some of our first meetings and in various ways. And we ended up going with MuniCode, and they're a website development company. They specialize in municipalities, and they have worked on websites at West Lynn, Wilsonville, Corvallis, and then nationally. And one of the things that was particularly exciting about them is that they actually have a satellite office in Lake Oswego. So if for some reason we needed some assistance here in the building, we could have them come and help us with that. The initial investment was $30,000, and that was based on their proposal, and then annually it will be roughly $5,700 to keep this service going. So I will now unveil what the new homepage looks like. So very easy to navigate. The hope is that what the quick items that people look for, agendas and minutes, paying their utilities, the different projects that are going on at the city, that those are available on the homepage. And then there are a variety of different departments, community websites, and then also, how to do business in Canby. So I'm going to walk you through a selection of various pages. The colors for the website and some of the branding might look familiar to you. So there's the downtown wayfinding signage, which is something that we've worked on as part of projects from the Welcome to Canby signs, and other projects. We've been trying to, as a city, really put forth a look and a feel so that when you visit Canby on the website and then you come to Canby to visit in person, that it looks like something that you've seen before. It gives people a sense of place, and it was a way to kind of further tie our departments with the branding that we've done. We also worked to, someone said to me recently that a website needs to be dynamic and it needs to be updated all the time. So we actually took that original team and even added more so that there were people in various departments, or sometimes several people in various departments, who know how to access the website on the back end, how that they can update what's going on, so that the content is always changing and is always going to be updated. So for instance, the Canby Public Library, so they took a different approach to how their homepage, their welcome looks like. But I think of it in the way of like, it looks like it belongs with the front page. It doesn't look like a completely different site. The calendar of events. So this talks about city council meetings, bike and ped meetings, those kinds of things. events in general. So Canby Independence Day celebration and the big night out, which will be occurring on August 27th. And then finally, mayor and council. People do want to know how we can find information, how, for example, we can meet our mayor and council. And there you are, and very, very easy to access, very, very directly how to contact you, where the meetings are, what the agendas look like, and it's just a way that everything has become a little bit more streamlined. It has upcoming events on the side. Oftentimes it has contact information, so along the left-hand side. So should it be an events page, it would have economic development attached to that. And we really hope that people use it. And then we have planned a rollout. So we are looking for volunteers, yourselves included, from the public to review, test, and provide feedback. As Scott mentioned, the official go live date is going to be August 2nd, which is a Monday. And so I think when the date of the go live was pushed, we thought, what if we had the ability for people to take a look at this website and provide some feedback. We have drawings for 4 gift cards of $40 to some local businesses, and people have to sign up, and then Danny Smith, the Canby Public Library Director, would send a link that accesses the demo website. And unfortunately for all of you and all of the city employees, elected officials, agents, and relatives of anyone affiliated with the city, we can't win the drawing, but you can certainly provide information. And so I just wanted to encourage you to take a look. It's something that I think that we're very proud of. I know lots of people have worked very hard on it. Again, the go live date is August 2nd, and that is my presentation. It's very, very brief, but I would welcome any questions.
Councilor Spoon?
The sign-up link for volunteering was a little complicated for people to write down or whatnot. Could we post it on our social media?
It's already posted.
Oh, great.
Yes, and it's all been sent out to the Canby Herald and the Canby Current.
Fantastic.
So, yes.
Yes, thank you. That's great.
Already done.
Check.
Councilor Hensley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take a deeper dive into it later, but just having the screenshots go by, you have my email address wrong.
Oh.
It said
Okay.
Hensley S. I'm a T.
Okay. We will, yes.
Thank you.
The calendar, what, is that just city boards and committees that'll populate that calendar, or in city-specific events?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh. Perfect.
I think it looks great, and I'm excited to look at it. I chuckle a little bit. One of the things that we've seen in our studies over the years is they've talked about how beige Canby is, and I see the beige color across the bottom, so I kind of laugh at that a little bit. It looks great.
Neutral.
It's wonderful.
Neutral.
It's neutral.
In this case, it's neutral. On a building, it's beige.
It's a very good-looking website. I'm excited to see more, and would love to dig in on it a little bit more, so I'll put my name in there, and I'm excited to see it go live. Good job.
I like it. More user-friendly. It's nice. Thank you.
I wanted to add how great it is that you're focusing on branding and having that consistent look. I know the mayor and I went to a talk at the last city's convention and seeing all these great branding palettes that other cities were doing, and you've just kind of taken that on as part of your role, and I really appreciate that because I think it's important for that consistency.
Yeah, I agree. Looks great, Jamie. Great job.
Thank you. I do have to say before I am finished with this that Valerie Kraxberger has been a shining star in this process of keeping the process going, working with the MuniCode team, helping to keep city staff, updating and keep us working an eye on the prize. So she has been incredible, but that should not be a surprise to anybody because she is always incredible. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jamie. All right, we're going to move into ordinances and resolutions. First one is resolution number 1357. Did I get that right, Melissa? All right. Nope, 1357. It's a change in the agenda.
I was looking at the computer and
Yep.
not the paper, sorry.
We apparently used 1356 already, so we had to last-minute course correction. It's a resolution authorizing and directing the city recorder to certify to Clackamas County Clerk a measure submitting to the electorate for the November 2nd, 2021 election, a proposed renewal of a 5-year local option levy for the Canby Swim Center at the rate of 49 cents per 1,000 assessed value, beginning in fiscal year 2022-2023. Scott, I'll let you take that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Your introduction covered most of the talking points. I would note we did discuss this at a study session, work session on May 19th. The council asked that we bring this resolution back to you so you could put it forward onto the ballot for November 2 of this year. The other point I wanted to make is this is a renewal of a 5-year levy. We are not changing the rate, so essentially this remains static if it's approved for the renewal. So this would just essentially continue the support at the level we have right now of the swim center, which I think all of you know is a very well used and very appreciated amenity that we provide, and this levy pays for basically the operation of that. So really that's it, unless you have any questions.
I actually have a couple of questions for Eric.
Eric Layton, and our swim center manager, is here, so come on up, Eric.
Been waiting patiently.
Yeah.
Hoping
it was
not to
worth
be
his
called
time
on.
to wait here. So.
Yeah, it's okay, because Mike Zagova was my 3rd grade teacher, and I was in his first class.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So Eric, really my question is, so the the levy, what's on tap for the use of the funds?
So it's our operating levy, so it provides us with our staffing and also with any maintenance that we need to do for the facility. We try to be very frugal with what we do, so that way we can make sure that we always have emergency funds too.
Well, I will say that as long as I've been on the council, I think you've been double the amount of time managing our pool, and you and your team have done an amazing job with the resources that you've had to keep a very long-used facility in our city running and operational. And so thank you to you and to everyone there that makes it happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor, I just want to, excuse me, I just one thing to add to the question about the use of the funds from the levy. We're also, and I concur with what you just said, and also commend Eric and the staff for doing a great job. We are also have been setting aside some portion of that fund each year into a reserve account to be used to do a major renovation to the building, which we've talked to you about, and we'll be coming back again. But we're also going to apply some of the funds for that use. So it's going to it's been very well utilized and will continue to be so.
And we've been on the 5-year levy for about 20 years. And so we've been saving the whole time. So.
Good.
But I would agree that you've used the funds very well. You do a very good job managing the place, and the community sees it, and that's why they always vote for the levy when we put it on the ballot. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve Resolution 1357, a resolution authorizing and directing the city recorder to certify to the Clackamas County Clerk a measure submitting to the electorate for the November 2nd, 2021 election, a proposal to renew the 5-year local option levy for the Canby Swim Center at a rate of 49 cents per 1,000 assessed value beginning in the fiscal year 2022-23.
I'll second.
So the motion's been made by Council President Hensley to approve Resolution 1357, a resolution authorizing and directing the city recorder to certify to the Clackamas County Clerk a measure submitting to the electorate for the November 2nd, 2021 election, a proposed renewal of a 5-year local option levy for the Canby Swim Center at the rate of 49 cents per $1,000 assessed value beginning in fiscal year 2022 to 2023. Councilor Barber, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. I mean, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of the pool and a huge fan of Eric. He coaches my daughter in the Canby Gators, and he's good. But my question is, if for some reason it doesn't pass, what's at stake? I don't see this happening. Like you said, we've been on a 5-year levy for 20 years. I think we'll be on it for 25, or more. But what's at stake if the voters don't pass it?
Well, obviously, we would have to, we have some funds available, so we'd be able to stay open for a little while, but probably it would close down.
Okay.
Brass tacks, bottom line. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, any other discussion on the matter? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Next up is ordinance number 1558, an ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 9.48.050, Parent A, regarding noise variance exceptions for second reading. And this is, I believe, adding the high school graduation to the verbiage of the code. Anything that we want to, any other pieces to this, Joe?
Well, we inadvertently had left in some emergency language that we removed. So this is the as amended version that we discussed last time. But otherwise, no, that is exactly the addition of graduation only.
Okay.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, move that we adopt ordinance number 1558, an ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 9.48.050, Parent A, regarding noise variance exceptions. Second reading.
Motion has been made by Councilor Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varwig to approve, where am I? There we go. Ordinance number 1558, an ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 9.48.050, Parent A, regarding noise variance exceptions. Roll call vote.
Councilor Spoon?
Aye.
Councilor Parker?
Aye.
Council President Hensley?
Aye.
Councilor Varwig?
Aye.
Councilor Banks?
Abstain.
All right.
Do I need to explain why? I work for
You
the,
don't have to if you don't want to, but,
well, I work for the school district, so abstain.
okay. So the motion carries 4-0-1 this evening. Perfect. Thank you. Next up is ordinance number 1559, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with R.L. Reimers Company for the Maple Street Park Pickleball Court and Gazebo Improvement Project. First reading.
Melissa is going to pull up a rendering of the new pickleball courts and gazebo that we would like to construct if you're inclined to approve this. So we've got, this is at Maple Street Park. This is adjacent to our new splash pad, which in this rendering is just on the left side of the picture. On this one, it's a different angle, so the new splash pad's on the right, new pickleball courts, and then the gazebo that's up at the top of the picture, kind of top right, is the newer one. That lower one already exists with the splash pad. So this proposes to install 4 regulation, very high quality, basically tournament level pickleball courts with lighting and some bench seating that would be built into a concrete wall that's kind of in the center of the picture, in between the splash pad and the pickleball courts. The project this is one of the projects that was identified and has been advocated for some time by our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. So kudos to that group for persisting and continuing to bring this forward. It's at the location where there was formerly an older tennis court facility that was taken out when we did the splash pad, and this essentially goes in the same location or similar location. This is the low bid of 4 bids we received, and we would propose to pay for this by using a combination of our parks fee, park SDC fees, as well as some private donations. Just received word, kind of a confirmation of a donation, at least one donation, and there, I guess, are some more that are being considered, but one donation from an individual in the amount of $25,000 who's a local resident. I'm not prepared to say that name just yet. I think I'm trying to encourage this individual to come forward at a council meeting. He's being very modest and really just wants to help promote this. I think he's a pickleball advocate and lives in the city, owns a couple of businesses in the local area, and just wants to support this endeavor. And I just spoke with him yesterday and said, "Can I get you to come forward and be recognized?" And he said, "Maybe." So we'll see about that. But anyway, it was kind of a soft yes, and I'm looking for a way to do an appropriate recognition. But that was a very good news piece with this. But there also are some other donations that are still being explored to support this. So obviously, I think it's a worthy project. Pickleball is, if you're not familiar, if you're not overly familiar, is a very popular activity. It is kind of like a combination of tennis and ping pong that you it's like playing ping pong on the surface. It's a much lower impact than tennis. You don't have to move around quite as much, so it's kind of a game that people that don't want to run around quite as much as you might playing tennis enjoy. It tends to be very popular with the older adult population, just because I think it it emulates tennis, but not quite as physical, if you will. But it's an incredibly popular activity, so I think it'll be well utilized locally, and I think this is also going to end up being a draw for people coming from out of town. Perhaps there'll be some tournaments and those types of things. There are pickleball organizations that are already on board and behind this that want to promote this and promote Canby having a beautiful facility. So I think this is just going to be a big draw, and it's going to do a lot for our community. So, and again, kudos to the Parks and Rec Board for their support and their kind of continued advocacy to bring this to where it's at now. And with that, we'd ask for your approval. And
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions at all?
No, just a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
With the changing demographic, as we know that the younger families with kids, as we know by the school registration rates, that's not the way our community is going. And so the older generation is what's moving into Canby. So I think this is a perfect activity for them. I think it'll be well used. And I would like to see possibly maybe some wayfinding signage to get them to come downtown and have lunch after their pickleball tournaments. So with that, I would move to approve ordinance number 1559, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with R.L. Reimers Company for the Maple Street Park Pickleball Court and Gazebo Improvement Project.
Second.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Spoon to approve resolution number ordinance 1559, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with R.L. Reimers Company for the Maple Street Park Pickleball Court and Gazebo Improvement Project. Any further discussion? Yes, Councilor Bangs.
I would only note that Canby High School has 8 tennis courts still remaining for people in our community to use who still have a burning desire to play tennis anytime except for the spring after school hours.
All right.
Perfect. Great. Any other comment? All right. Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Perfect. I know. Next up is new business. First up is letter of support for a grant associated with the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development, DLCD, and the Housing Needs Analysis, HNA, and Housing Production Strategy, HPS. And I'm going to turn that over to staff. That
A lot of
alphabet
acronyms.
soup. Yes.
That's a lot of
Alphabet
letters.
soup, indeed. We're going to throw another alphabet soup in there, which is DLCD. That is the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development, and that is who we are asking. We're asking for your support to do this letter to them. basically asking for money that they would like to give us, and they're trying to give some money and support to cities. We've talked to you about this in a work session. Don Hardy, our planning director, gave a presentation about some of the upcoming issues, and one of those is the recently passed legislation that requires that we do this housing needs analysis as well as the housing production strategy, and DLCD is putting some funding behind helping cities to do this. It's a pretty work-intensive process, and they have to be completed over the next couple of years. So we would then, if we were to receive these funds, we would use that towards hiring consultants to help us to do this work, which is, again, it's work-intensive. So that's kind of the high-level overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but basically, right now, what we're just asking for is you to pass a motion approving that we sign off on, that the mayor signs this letter of support specifically to DLCD, and then when we get to the point of some type of, hopefully, a grant, I would imagine we'll be bringing back a grant agreement to you.
Yeah, just if I may kind of piggyback on that too, Scott, the housing needs analysis piece, the county has also been working on a county-wide housing need analysis piece. Again, looking at everything from types of housing, single-family, multifamily, et cetera, and then trying to look at past growth and future growth for areas within Clackamas County. So they've already been doing a lot of work that will fold into what we've got planned out in terms of this housing needs analysis that we're hiring a consultant to help us with. And then the housing production strategy is just that. What's build out going to be looking like over the next 5, 10, 15 years? A lot of this has been done already for, like Milwaukee, I think has already done their housing needs analysis, and I think Wilsonville has done it as well. So it's super labor intensive to do, and it does eat up a lot of staff time. So hopefully, I'm glad that it's not a totally unfunded mandate by the state, but and that there's some money put towards it. So.
And Mr. Mayor, I would also like to add too that both of those processes will include some robust public involvement. So we'll be doing some outreach, and as this unfolds over time, we'll have some public involvement opportunities.
Great. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Banks.
So Scott, what we're looking for is a city council support for a letter?
Yeah, just simply to acknowledge that we're asking that the letter, that the mayor sign this letter on behalf of the city, but actually DLCD is asking that the council approve that you are submitting this letter of support.
I do not see the exact wording. I'm going to have to make this up as I go. But
the letter's on page 77 in the packet.
There is a proposed motion on the staff report.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the letter of support associated with the DLCD, HNA, and HPS grant funding.
Second.
Great. Motion's been made by Councilor Bangs and seconded by Councilor Spoon to approve the City Council provided letter, or to provide a letter of support for the DLCD, HNA, and HPS grant funding. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that passes 5-0. Next up under new business is a letter of support for CAPRD, which is the Canby Area Park and Rec District. Scott?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Yes, another letter of support that we're asking council to pass a motion to submit. The Canby Area Park and Recreation District, CAPRD, is a long-standing district that it goes back to maybe the mid-1960s that overlays Canby, and it also extends out into the unincorporated areas. I think it almost mirrors the school district boundaries, not quite, I'm told, but I think it's close. So if you can kind of envision that. It's a large geographic area. The interesting thing about this district is that they do not have any funds associated with them. They have no funding source, no tax base, no levies, no bonds. They have been, I think, going through a bunch of different iterations. I believe they've attempted on a number of occasions to bring a funding measure forward, and those have not passed. District-wide, I understand that it looked like the voting indicated that on some of those occasions, or maybe most of those occasions, those passed within the city limits of Canby, but they failed in the rest of the district. So the Capard current board has approached me and actually has engaged the mayor as well. What they're proposing to do is shrink their boundary down to basically just be our city limits plus our urban growth area. So wherever we're going to expand into over the coming years. And as such, what they would like to do is essentially redefine their boundaries to that area and first do that and then come up with a longer term plan of having a funding mechanism put into place by some type of voter approved mechanism. And as I'm told by the board, they only want to do this basically to support Canby's park and recreation efforts. So they want to basically not create a new district or a new department. They just want to find a way to help support current systems, which is us and maybe some of the other local organizations like the sports groups in town or some of those types of things. The first step is they have to go to the County Board of Commissioners, which is the Boundary Commission, and that requires the Boundary Commission to sign off on this, and then that has to go to a vote of the electorate within their district to basically shrink that. So they're asking for the city to submit this letter of support for their application to the Boundary Commission, and they're also seeking support from other entities. They also went to our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and asked for their support, and actually just last night, I understand that they gave their blessing and are also I think submitting some type of acknowledgement or letter of support. So your own Parks and Rec Advisory Board has essentially blessed this as well. So this is kind of step one of a few steps, and they're asking you to simply support their effort to redefine their boundaries. There will be other steps about the funding and different things at later times, and they may engage the council with those efforts as well.
So the chair or not chair, but one of the Capard members is here this evening. Andrew, did you want to come up and add anything to that at all, or you don't have?
I think you guys have covered everything.
Okay.
If you have a question, I might be able to answer it.
Okay. Scott, clarifying question. Now, my understanding was that it's just on the Board of County Commissioners to approve the new defined district, not necessarily then going out to the voters to approve that.
That might be the case.
You're the pro, I'm not.
Yeah, well, there are different rules about special districts and different, and I think it depends on how the formation occurred and perhaps what language was in the charter of the formation. So I'll need to verify that. So without getting too far ahead of myself, and I don't know if you know that, Andrew, if you had any clarification, but this is to for sure, the County Board of Commissioners, as the Boundary Commission, has to sign off on this, right. and then whatever the next legal steps are there after that. Maybe you know, Andrew.
Do I need to do anything?
Nope, it's already turned on. You're good.
My understanding is we have worked with the county legal team. I can't remember the term for that, but we've worked with them, and it is possible for the county to vote on, the county commissioners to vote on behalf of their constituents to shrink the district. It doesn't have to go to a vote. That is my understanding, based on the conversations we've had. I know there was a more recent conversation where I think there was some confusion at the county, but we've had further conversations with them, and we're on the same page now.
Great. Yeah, so Scott and I met with Commissioner Schrader and Gary Schmidt at the county a couple weeks ago, and had this conversation about Cappard, and because the whole, get some more history on it, was with the creation of the North Clackamas Park and Rec District, there was the desire to create a South Clackamas Park and Rec District, which is what Cappard was supposed to turn into and be created for. And so we reached out to Commissioner Schrader, because was very instrumental in getting the Cappard piece going back in the day, and then, or keeping it going and defining some of these pieces. And so we reached out to her and to the county administrator just to kind of test the waters, see what their thoughts were, and then what's the process. So the first process was they put it on a work session. So the Board of County Commissioners have already talked and had a work session through it. There's some questions came up, I think, about, do they decide, does it have to go out to the electorate? And so they got that clarification. I think there's another work session coming up here in August. I think the first or second meeting in August. And then they'll then decide on that piece. And I know Andrew's been out beating the bushes and getting support for that with a number of Canby kids and the school district and things like that. So we're one of those pieces that we're at right now. So I'm leaving anything out?
I don't think so. No.
All right.
Sounds good.
So some conversation that I've had with some of the council has been some language maybe in the letter maybe needs to be changed a little bit. And then two councilors have expressed doing a work session on Cappard and having just kind of a where's it been and where's it going, and maybe how does this evolve down the road here to where it's homogeneously working together between Cappard and the Canby Park and Rec District. So that's just been some feedback that I've received, and so that's kind of where we're at now. Councilor Parker?
Well, I'd like to say that this looks pretty straightforward to me. And I've kind of been the one on the council over the past several years that has kept an arm's length from Cappard. And I think now with some of the new members, and in particular our choice on a city manager with a background in special districts and parks, that I am confident I don't need a work session on this. I think we're starting to get a little backlogged on some of our work sessions here. This is pretty straightforward. And ultimately, it's going to get to a point of referring to the voters, if not the shrinking of the district, if then a tax base. So there's a lot of things to be had between now and then. I've had extensive conversations with both the mayor and the city manager about memorandum of understanding and that sort of thing. But on the question that's on the table for us tonight, whether I would support a letter to the county commissioners shrinking the boundaries concurrent with the city and its urban growth boundaries, I don't need to talk about that anymore. I'm a yes on that.
Okay. Yeah, Councilor Spoon.
I was one of the people that asked for a work session, but I think that a number of my questions have actually been answered tonight in terms of the question right now. I would still say that it would be my hope that we could have a work session about Cappard. My question about the language is, I'm a fan of Cappard. I'm not a fan, but before I'm ready to say that I want the voters to approve a tax on it, I would want to look at some of the language in their charter. I would want to have a conversation about what the relationship with the city would look like. I have more questions about endorsing the tax, even though I suspect I'll advocate for it and be a fan of it. But I think in terms of my support for them reducing the size of the district, I can get behind that tonight. I'm not sure that there's a purpose for Cappard to exist without that because of the history of not being able to get the tax passed. So it's kind of, I guess, a question of do we support them in decreasing the size of the district, or do we expect that Cappard will just kind of exist in perpetuity without any money, right? Those are kind of the two questions on the table. But I would, for the moment, not be ready to say that I hope that they can get voter-approved tax base until I have more information about what that relationship with the city would look like.
Yeah, and that's going to be, we talked about it last night at the Park and Rec advisory board meeting, and that was a question and a concern for a number of the park advisory board members, as well as, so does that mean that the Canby Park and Rec Board goes away? Like, what, and that's not it at all. It's truly still something that will be handled and managed through the Canby Park Advisory Board in conjunction with CAPRD. So those MOUs and IGAs and all the other alphabet soup documents that we need to orchestrate and work through, that's the heavy lift. So that'll be the big piece coming up that we'll have to work on. So
I just meant more in terms of the language in the letter that we're looking at. Second paragraph starts with saying that we hope that they'll get voter-approved tax base, and I'm saying I'm not sure I'm ready to say that yet.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I won't be. I just don't have enough knowledge about CAPRD and what the agreements would look like. I've never read CAPRD's charter. You know what I mean? I'm just not ready to say that yet. I suspect I'll be fine with it eventually, but I'd like to have a work session before I go there.
Okay.
If you're asking if, do I agree with decreasing the size of the district, I can do that tonight without a work session. I'd like a work session to get me the rest of the way, if that makes sense.
So that one line because I think Councilor
I
Parker
mentioned that to you yesterday.
referenced that line as well. And so if we maybe rework that or omit that line of that piece of it, then.
Yeah, I largely agree with the letter. I'm not quite ready to say that without any information.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't have any information about it, so.
Fair. Yeah, we can maybe rework that little bit out there for sure. Councilor Banks?
In that second paragraph, could we say instead, it is understood that CAPRD might obtain a voter-approved tax base to support yada, yada, yada?
Sure.
Would that be sufficient? Should I restate that?
It's understood that they might.
Thank you.
Okay.
In that case, I would make a motion that the city council support this letter as written and with those two amendments in that second paragraph.
A note on the amendment, my preference would be to just get rid of the second paragraph. I don't think we need it at all. It'd get rid of some confusion, but.
I don't believe that Sean fully seconded my motion.
I apologize.
So therefore, I would like to start over my motion by saying that the council support the letter not to include the second paragraph.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Bangs and seconded by Councilor Varg to support the letter, or to endorse the letter of support for CAPRD, omitting said paragraph of the letter. Council President Hensley, you had a conversation piece, question, comment?
Well, it's no secret that I have never been a fan of CAPRD, and it's been riddled, the history's riddled with problems, and I do think we should take a beat and have a work session, educate the newer counselors on its history. I am not a fan of another layer of government governing our park system, so I'm a hard no on this, and I would at very least would like a work session to talk about it before we move forward on any of it.
Okay.
I actually share your concerns about redundant government, and that was kind of my question last night, as if it shrinks to the size of the city,
Then why we have.
then why then there's a level of redundancy that really doesn't make any sense to me. Knowing that the eventual ask will go to the voters allows me to kind of get there on shrinking the size, but I share that's really my concern too.
Ultimately, it'd probably be our employees, and we control that budget, so it's just so
those are all my
convoluted.
questions. What does this extra layer of government do? But I'm a huge fan of parks, and I want to see a rec district, and I want to see all of the benefits in theory come to fruition. So
I agree, but I'm a no on this piece because I'm just not for this model.
Okay.
Is it true that what we're really supporting here is the reduction of the size of an existing district and not creating a different district?
That's correct.
Correct. We want to shrink the existing district, but I would like to actually see that layer of government go away. Well, there was actually a time, not too far in the distant past, that we had a board that was trying to abolish the whole thing. Unfortunately, there was not a time too far in the past where the board was trying to abolish the district in itself. The commissioners were working to just disintegrate the whole thing, which would have made a lot more sense. Unfortunately, we had a change in board membership through a number of strange circumstances in life, but that didn't come to happen. I'm still on that board of thinking that it needs to just go away. Sorry, not trying to just take anything away from your efforts. I appreciate your willingness to serve, but I just don't see the need for another layer of government.
Yeah, Councilor Baines, it is an existing district. It's never been funded. So we elect board members and then they meet periodically, but they have no funding, no staff, no mechanism to do anything. They've just kind of existed for about 60 years, I think.
60 years, yeah. So
Yeah.
is there a big deadline here? Do we have to vote on this tonight? I mean, 60 years in the making, can we push the can out a little more further down the road?
Well, I think, I don't want to, I'm not speaking for the Capper board, so just making that very clear. I was just sort of helping convey the request to the council, but, and maybe you might speak to that question a little bit too, but I understand that the timing is that the board is trying to get, they're trying to move things forward in such a way that they can meet some different potential election deadlines. Either for if the redistrict or the reboundary has to go to a vote and or some other type of funding measures, and they presented it to the county under those kind of framework of that timeline. So that's the timeliness. I think they're just asking so that it goes forward with their request to the county. And I think, Mayor, you mentioned the county board is having a work session coming up in, I think, a few weeks. So that would be the timing issue, but I don't speak for the board.
So the shrinking of the district, this isn't something new. In fact, we've had this conversation about this letter before. At the moment, yeah, we're working with the county. We've had some conversations with them. The timing looks really good for us, along with the fact that the city is currently doing a master plan for parks. And because CAPPERD is a potential funding mechanism, we are actually part of the, I can't think of the word.
Like the stakeholders?
Stakeholders,
You're
correct.
one of the stakeholders.
Yeah, we're one of the stakeholders, and we're actually going to be having some conversations, not for control, but just so it's understood that we're here and what our goals are, what we're trying to support. So those things all seem to be aligning really well. We'd like to shrink the district by the end of the year. The county thinks that's possible, but to do that, we need some letters of support. And one of the big ones is from you guys, from the city of Canby.
Right.
So that's what we're shooting for. I mean, there is a timeline that we've put together that we'd like to stick to.
Okay.
So I'll just leave it at that.
Is there a size or boundaries of the proposed shrunken district that you have operating? It's a bit of a vague request. Just reduce the size. I mean,
It's in there. It's the
Okay.
city boundary plus the urban growth reserves. So those are defined, and the reason why we yeah. There's some reasoning behind that, and we can get into that if we need to, but.
All right, thank you.
So as I'm taking the temperature here and the questions are being asked, and maybe a work session might be in order here just to kind of flush some of this out. Scott and I can work on that piece and try to figure out timelines with you, Andrew, on that. I know trying to get that moved forward quickly, and we can work with the county to make sure it stays on their radar, and that maybe we can work with them too. And Scott might have some pull with the county administrator to maybe bump it in an agenda or two on their end to allow us to do that, but still get it done within before the end of the year here. So.
Well, Brian, I'm sensing that a majority of the councilors are prepared to move ahead with support.
And there's a motion on the table.
Yeah. there's a
Sorry,
motion on the
there is a
table,
motion.
So you're kind of arguing
Sorry,
out
I'm.
of order.
Thank you for correcting me. So you're right, there is a motion on the table. Thank you. So hold on to that then. Yeah, so it was seconded by Councilor Varg. So yeah, the motion on the table is to approve a letter of support by the city council and the mayor for the shrinking of the district of Capper to the Board of County Commissioners.
Can I make one more note? I'll be voting in support to shrink the district, but I would like to have a work session before there's any tax implications, before any further letters of support. So I think that I think we can do both. I think we can vote on this and still have a work session to get into the meat of what it would look like before we throw any support towards increase our tax base for it.
Okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Okay, that passes 4-1. We will do some editing to the letter, and I will sign it, and we will...
Paragraph will go away.
Yes.
Yep, and we will get that over to the BCC. Perfect.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Next up is mayor's business. Just for those that have hung on. The beginning of the evening, the city council did have 2 work sessions. One was presentation and discussion regarding the transit building. We're looking at expanding, we've got to move, and we're looking at a piece of property to build a new transit building and bus yard. And then the other piece was a presentation discussion regarding the street maintenance fee, which we'll be bringing more information back on that in the future. I have nothing to report right now on the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, nor on the Regional 1 Area Commission on Transportation. Scott, the current website still has our start time as 7 o'clock, not 7:30.
It doesn't say that we're in person yet, so a lot of people were wondering about that.
It's a good thing they didn't show up.
Yeah.
They would have been.
We'll correct those items.
Perfect. And then last night was in fact the Park Advisory Board meeting. We did discuss the pickleball court. The poles for the netting for the softball fields around there are in, and the nets will be coming to separate and protect the splash pad and potential pickleball participants. We also had a conversation about the splash pad, and it's on set. There was a number of falls and injuries by kids and whatnot, so Jerry and team and Jeff Snyder, our parks, our guru of all things park, are working with the builder and the developer to figure out how to maybe do some changes to that might get it so it's not as slick in that area. We also talked about the signage project that's going on right now. So Legacy Park, Community Park, and Maple Street Park are all getting new sign updates. So it'll look very similar to the one that's at Locust Street Park. So they're currently going through and scraping and getting the materials for those new signs. And then just kind of went through and there's going to be, so Park Master Plan is underway and moving along. And so stakeholder meetings and community events are going to be coming up for those. So watch your calendars and hopefully be able to participate in those. Already talked about the meeting with Commissioner Schrader and County Administrator. So that's really all that I have this evening. We'll start with Councilor Spoon for councilor comments and reports.
Thank you. Well, the work session covered some major items for transit as of you, but for people that did not watch the work session, the most important note about Canby Area Transit is they will start taking fares again about September 7th. So they have not been taking fares during COVID, and they were working in conjunction with our neighbor and partner transit organizations who we match up with so that there was consistency. And it seems to be that September 7th is about the day that we will start taking fares again.
Great, thank you. Councilor Parker?
Thank you. Just 2 quick things. The Bike Committee has been an early participant in the stakeholder groups developing the master plan, and so that's been their main focus. And then the Heritage Landmark Commission is going to be reviewing the plans for the remodel of the old City Hall, more specifically the old Fire Hall, which was partially renovated or some demolishing went on. Questions came up about the role of it being a historic building. And so actually Carol Palmer has been facilitating this, getting it ready to have the commission give its formal review. So that, according to Carol Palmer, things are on track. She has seen the plans that have been submitted and she approves of it. So I'm a little impatient with the fencing and the mess that's out there. But I'm told this is being moved along at an appropriate level. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I have is the Traffic Safety Commission. We just appointed a new member tonight, so thank you, Gary Bryant, for joining our group. I think he's going to have a lot to offer with his extensive experience in the trucking industry, so that's really going to help as far as where signage should be and whatnot. So I look forward to working with him in the future. And we are planning a site visit. So the folks that have been worried about the situation over by Enterprise Rent-A-Car on the south side, the 2nd and 3rd. We are planning a site visit, and I think Joe's also working on things to go into conjunction with the business license approval timeframe of October, right? But I think it'll be the first part of August we're going to have a site visit. So we're still working on that for those who have been asking about that, and there will be a left turn lane going onto First Street from 13th. There you go. You asked about that. So that's all I have.
Going on First Street.
On Fur.
I thought you said first.
No,
and I was
on
like, where's
Fur.
13th
On
and
Fur
Fur?
Street
Yeah.
from 13th.
Perfect.
I
Excellent.
need to enunciate. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Council Barwick.
Thank you very much. Planning Commission this last week had the 13th and Ivy project that we had referred back to them, came before them this last week, and with some changes, they have approved it, so that is moving forward. CTV, we haven't been able to connect on meeting times, so I haven't gotten the notes from this week's meeting. It was Tuesday at 7 a.m. I wasn't able to be there, but I'll have those notes soon. And then I'm going to put them on the spot a little bit. Canby Fire has been quite busy. And so, Chief Davis, if you have anything you want to share about Canby Fire, I know you could brag about those guys all day long. So come on up and.
Now, let me get my notes here. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you guys and the citizens of Canby for your stance on the fireworks. The citizens came through. We had very few incidents on the 4th of July. Dumpster fire, and of course, we've been running like crazy on medical calls, but that's every day. But
So that was a real dumpster fire, or you're not?
It was a dumpster fire.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not
little-
just insanity.
Yeah,
going, okay.
a little dumpster fire, not bad. But the citizens, we asked them to be careful, and I really feel they did. So I really feel that you took the right stance on that as well. Last Wednesday, of course, we had the big fire on Highway 99. It was called in our area, and when we arrived, it was down below the BP power lines, working its way up the hillside. It had reached the top. Matt English was the incident commander down below. I went up to the top side, and in all, we had a 7-alarm fire up there. We had 39 pieces of equipment from around as far away as Woodburn, Colton. So we instituted our full automatic aid for the fire. We had one helicopter from McMinnville, as well as a dozer from Department of Forestry. It was pretty close in regards to getting past us up on the power lines. And had it got past us on the power lines, it would have crossed South End Road and worked its way across the hillside. In all, we had one house. We actually had flames hitting the house, and the crews were able to fight back the flames and keep it away from a very large house, very beautiful house up on top that overlooks the valley. And then it worked around towards some other houses, but we were able to keep the fire away from them. We had about $3 million worth of horses prize horses that were coming up the driveway. I was going down. And we were able to get the horses over to the fairgrounds. Fairgrounds opened up right away. We used reverse 911 to notify all the people. PGE came out, shut down power all the way to McLaughlin School on South End Road. So everything worked exceptionally well. Our dispatch center did a remarkable job in doing the reverse 911 and doing the notifications. I can't say enough about the job that the firefighters did from all the agencies that assisted us on that fire. We have had 4 crew members that just returned from yesterday from the bootleg fire. They saw more fire than they've seen in quite a while. They had lightning developing out of the clouds. They had to pull back because the fires were certain behind them. But I'm very proud of the job they did. In all, from the time they left, they saved about 3,000 homes in the bootleg fire, and they had to pull back to Canby because there's a 14-day timeout where they have to be taken off the fire line after 14 days. This Saturday, our next crew will be coming back, at which time I fully expect that they'll ask for another task force out of Clackamas County to go back down to the bootleg fire or one of the other fires that are happening around the state. And a lot of questions around the train. And every time the train stops, we hear about it right away. And we have a direct line with the railroad. As everybody knows, they have their own rules and laws, but they've been real cooperative. Actually, the person in charge of the PR, public relations, lives in Gresham, and he represents California, Oregon, and Washington. And we're fortunate that he lives in Gresham because he was here for the train derailment down at South End Road, and so he spent a lot of time in Canby. So he fully understands what happens when we shut down, the cross-throughs going from the south to the north on the trains. So every time that happens, we call and they initiate an investigation. Then we call our contact on the public relations side, and he starts his own investigation too. So as you've noticed, knock on wood, this last weekend, the last few weekends has not been too bad in regards to the train stopping in town. So we appreciate his help as well. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. I have nothing else.
Great. Thank you, sir. Councilor Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Library Advisory Board met yesterday. We have fully reopened, and average weekly visits were 1,100 since reopening, although the data is questionable. So hopefully they're going to have more accurate data soon and with a better way to account for the people who are showing up. Friends of the Library, which runs that little bookstore in the library, is also open the same hours. And then Monday, I believe it is, next week, we're interviewing 3 applicants for the 3 vacancies on the library board, one of which is our student liaison. I think it's possible, there was another citizen, Rick Meyer, who was there at the meeting last night, and I believe he is also going to be a 4th applicant that we'll be interviewing. So we'll actually have more applicants than positions vacant on the Library Advisory Board. One point of somewhat of a contention here is that the LDAC, which is the county governing library district, is it's going to be at least 2 years before they look into the redistricting issue. This happened 13 years ago when Oregon City Library made off with our Caris and Malino areas because of their budget shortfall. Since then, we've had closed on Sundays and laid off our Hispanic liaison. So they created our budget shortfall, which has caused the library to get money from the city to make up for that. So they're going to get right onto that in 2 to 3 to 4 years, I believe, something like that. It's a bigger problem than just the Oregon City Library competing districts. It's, I think, countywide. I think Scott might have some knowledge about this, but it's a point of some contention with the Library Advisory Board. The school board met while I was in New England. The new superintendent is in his office now. ODE has released recommendations for fall, and it looks like Canby schools are going to go forward with normal school operations, which means not masked and no Zoom kids. The requirement that we make it available for kids online has been lifted. So barring any more COVID developments, which is a big bar, we're going to have normal school operations. I think most of us are very excited about that. Also, the board voted on new officers. The board chair will be Sarah Megenheimer, who was recently reelected, and vice chair will be Tom Scott, who was also recently reelected. And that's it.
Great, thank you. City administrator, business and staff reports.
A few brief items for you. First is the bi-monthly department reports are in your packet, chock full of lots of information about what is going on. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Second is Mayor was talking about the Parks and Rec master plan discussion and that's rolling out. And I just wanted to add to that the first public forum, first public-facing event for that master plan process will be held Thursday, July 29th, so a week from tomorrow, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Right here in this building, in this very room. And the public is encouraged to attend. It'll be kind of open forum style and input and some information. So public event Thursday, July 29th, 6:30 to 8 at City Hall for the Parks and Rec Master Plan. Next is that events are back. And our first of the coming out of COVID city run events will be our annual Big Night Out street dance. That will take place on Friday, August 27th, 6 to 11 p.m. That will be downtown on 2nd and Grant. It'll feature live music, free kids activities, local food vendors from our brick and mortar restaurant operators, a lot of good stuff. It's free. Everybody's encouraged to attend. That also kicks off the Canby's Big Weekend event, which features the street dance, the Dahlia Festival, and the Cuts Forth's Cruise In, and then other events. So we are excited to be back doing city-hosted events. And then the last thing I have is Melissa has a quick demonstration for you. Melissa is our multi-talented, both your city recorder at these meetings, but as I think you know, she's also the city's HR manager, and she does a tremendous job. But we have a new online recruiting tool. This brings us some great recruitment opportunities and kind of brings us up to current timelines of technology. So she wanted to just give you a quick demonstration of what that looks like and how it can be utilized.
Yeah, so on our new website, on the very front page, there'll be a button that says job opportunities, and people can click there. It'll redirect them to this link, which is what most cities are using nowadays. So you can view our current job postings here, the rates, job descriptions over here on the menu. You can view all of the job descriptions within the city using that link right there. We do get a lot of requests for different job descriptions from other agencies, so that's convenient. We can just direct them here. And then we're also going to add, there's volunteer opportunities. So I'm working on building this page out. As you can see, we just recently launched this, but I'd like our boards and commissions and committees to be able to volunteer, do their application online here as well.
Great.
So, yeah. That's pretty
And I
exciting.
think we'll also be adding some additional platforms on this technology that will help us do things. These will be more internal things, but like tracking our performance reviews for staff and kind of automating that and helping.
Automating our
with those.
onboard system, or onboarding of our
onboarding.
employees, so.
This is a really tremendous tool, and it's something that actually Melissa recommended and advocated for that we put into the budget, and so here we are.
Yeah, and our confidential administrative assistant, Teresa Spellman, did a lot of work on getting this launched, so I want to thank her for her efforts on that.
Awesome.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah, it's great.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of things. Okay. The first of which is, next week we have a special meeting. I just want to remind everybody.
Thank you.
So 1 week from now, we have a special meeting that we're going to do some land use hearing. And then the other thing that I have to share is I thought I was Canby's newest resident because I moved into town just a couple months ago, but it just so happens that Canby's newest resident is sitting right next to us and that he just signed on his house here yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
So I wanted to welcome Scott as one Canby resident to another, and I'll hand the torch over.
My wife Tammy and I are very excited to be almost Canby residents here in the next few days. Anybody has any moving equipment or trucks, come on over. And I'm kidding. We've got that all handled. I'm kidding. But no, we really are excited to be moving into town. And as of this weekend, we'll be full-time residents in Canby. So.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
Melissa, do you have any news you want to share too? Are you moving to town?
I didn't ask.
Are you moving to town?
Yeah.
All right. Last opportunity for citizen input? Nope. All right.
It's late.
Action review.
All right. You have approved the consent agenda, adopted resolution number 1357, and ordinance number 1558, passed ordinance number 1559 to a second reading on August 4th, approved a letter of support for a grant associated with the DLCD Housing Needs Analysis and Housing Production Strategy, and approved a letter of support for CAPRD.
Wonderful. Thank you. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
To adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Varwig and seconded by Councilor Bangs to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Canby, we are adjourned. Canby, good night. Thank you.